Good evening. Welcome to Around the World with Dee and Friends. Tonight, we're going to be discussing who is to blame for high prices. Capitalist Democrat funders, who are they? Who are the capitalists? And we're going to also talk about Gaza. Harshmed should be joining me soon. He's busy, but he said he wanted to join in tonight. So, we will be waiting for him, but I will start the show anyway, obviously. And if he pops in, he pops in, and we'll just be happy when we see him, I guess. And right now, I'm going to be sharing the show, so please hit the like button. If you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'd appreciate it. This is my new channel. My other channel got taken down, so this is a new one, and I haven't been promoting it too much, but I really need to. And follow me on X, follow me on Upscrolled. I'd appreciate that. And if you could share the show out, I would really, really appreciate it. Get the word out that I'm live. She's live. So like I said, I'm sharing the show out right now. And I'd appreciate it if you could do that as well. Okay. Just takes me a little time to do that. And okay, sharing as quickly as I can. So how is everybody doing this evening? I know it's very hot all over the world, and a lot of people are having problems with the heat, and it's always recommended for people to drink plenty of water and try to be in air conditioning or a fan, cool place. And I know it's difficult for a lot of people, especially there's people that can't afford it. But if you could, it's just a tough situation. Drink plenty of water. And, when I hear people saying that drink plenty of water, I think of Gaza and how their water's being destroyed. And all forms of life, it really is maddening that this is what a group of humans could do to another group. It just breaks my heart. It really does. And here I am on Facebook sharing. I was just over on X sharing the show out. So now I am over here. And as they say, sharing is caring. And that's what I'm doing right now. Sharing, sharing, sharing. Letting people know I'm here. But with this heat and with the horrible weather, it's just really tough on a lot of people. And it's really sad that countries, governments aren't equipped to assure that people have the ability to have fresh water, to have air conditioning, or have fans. People suffering. It's just really sad, especially this day and age. People in Gaza living in the tents and having their water ruined. And here we look at the U.S. and some places people are living in tents. Families living in their cars because obviously they can't afford the rents or the prices that are out there. I've read about people working two jobs, you know, and the spouse, they both work and they can't afford a place to live. And like, what has happened to this country? And that's when you know a country doesn't value its people. If you don't care where people are living and the people are working to make somebody else's business profit, and they can't even afford a place to live on the salary they're receiving. In the U.S., there's no excuse for the homelessness, for people, not everybody having health care. There's no excuse for it. It's just, the corporations, they profit off of sickness. The healthcare industry profits off of people being sick. Why the heck would you want people to be healthy if you profit off of them being sick? This is the country we live in. Those that live in the U.S. And now with the high prices, there were estimates saying that with everything going on, that people are spending about $1,000 more a month if you look at groceries and the price of fuel. And that's basically due to the problem with fuel getting here, with everything that's going on worldwide. And then when you have tariffs, and it's really a sad situation because we don't have a government that really supports us. And you wonder, where's the Congress in all of this? Yeah, where are they? Where is everybody? Why is it okay? Okay, I have one more place to go, and Harsh is not here yet. But I just got one more place to share, and then I'm going to move on. Okay. And let me see. Okay. Okay. And I am going to move on and move on with the show. Okay. Oops. Let me see here. Let me tag some people. Um, okay. Let me see. One more person in the tag. Didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna be do do do, and then I'll get going with the show. What's going on here? Okay. Here, I'm moving on. I'm going to start off with who's to blame for the high prices? Okay. Okay, this is from Common Dream. July 4th barbecue burn. Reports pin blame for sky-high cookout prices on Trump policies. And I'm sure most people could have figured that out. Thanks to Trump's tariffs and foreign wars, Americans won't find any independence from inflation this 4th of July. And this is written by Brad Reed on July 2nd, 2026. Having a July 4th barbecue will be significantly more expensive this year than it was a year ago, and two reports say President Donald Trump's policies are at least partly to blame. In an analysis published Wednesday, the American Economic Liberties Project faulted Trump for not taking on the corporate concentration in the meatpacking industry, which the group argued was the single biggest contributor to a July 4th barbecue burn that will see Americans pay record prices for ground beef. The report finds that even though Trump has tried to cut prices by lowering his tariffs to increase the supply of imported beef, they have not fallen due to the meatpacking oligopolies' power to keep prices high, regardless of input cost. In fact, the report says that prices have gone up an additional 2% since Trump exempted beef imports from his tariffs list in last November. The real problem, the record contends, is that just four companies, process 85% of U.S. beef, giving them enormous leverage over what consumers pay for the final product. Even though three of these four firms have paid out tens of millions of dollars to settle price fixing allegations, the report adds none of them have been broken up. Lori Wallach, director of the American Economic Liberties Project's Rethink Trade program, said the president's unwillingness to take on corporate power was hurting both consumers and cattle ranchers. Responding to a corporate monopoly-driven price crisis with trade tools has caused a double whammy, said Wallach. No relief for American consumers, and record floods of imported beef threatening the livelihoods of the ranchers who supported Trump. To bring prices down, Wallach added, the administration must break up the big four beef packers that dictate terms to consumers and ranchers alike. Katie Huntinga, policy analyst at Rethink Trade and lead author of the report, said that until Trump breaks the power of dominant meat packers and grocery chains to keep prices high, American consumers will suffer. A separate analysis published Tuesday by Groundwork Collaborative and the Century Foundation spotlighted the high price of not just beef, but other July 4th staples as well. In addition to the price of beef, which has gone up by over 20% in the last year, the report finds the prices of prepared potato salad, 23% year-over-year increase, ice pops, 22% increase, and strawberries, 20% increase, have all seen substantial rises. And it's not just food items, as the prices of disposable forks, 20% year-over-year increase, and aluminum foil, 18% increase, have gone up dramatically as well. Lindsay Owens, executive director at Groundwork Collaborative, said that Trump's tariffs on foreign goods and his illegal war with Iran, which caused the price of fertilizer to spike, both contributed to the price spikes. As Americans fire up the grill this July 4th, they'll feel the heated summer prices. They will feel the price hike, said Owens. As popsicle prices spike and air conditioning bills skyrocket, working families will be forced to sweat in the face of high price tags. Thanks to Trump's tariffs and foreign wars, Americans won't find any peace, won't find any independence from inflation this 4th of July. Yes. What kind of family gathering are people going to have? And it all boils down to how much people bring home, how much money they bring home. But most people are feeling the price hikes of a lot of products. I mean, some of the products, like you look at the price of beef being so high, I mean, the price of beef is higher than the minimum wage. Yeah, and somebody works a full hour. What could they really afford for that full hour's worth of work with how the prices have increased? And you wonder why a lot of people are living in tents or they're living in, their cars. People have to choose a roof over their head or food to eat. What are we going to do? And this shouldn't be the U.S. This is not how the U.S. should be. Okay, and now I'm going to take you over to who is funding the Democrats? Who are the capitalists that are funding the Democrats? And in the picture, picture says Representative Josh Gottheimer, Democrat, New Jersey, leaves the U.S. Capitol after the House passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. So that's Representative Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey, who is funding the Democrats who say we're capitalist, not socialist. Probably these billionaire capitalists. And this is by Brad Reed, and it was written July 2nd. An investigation found that the anti-socialist group Promise to America has ties to a PAC funded by billionaires such as LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman. More than a dozen corporate Democrats last week responded to upstart progressive wins in primaries by pledging their support to a political manifesto called Promise to America, which emphasizes support for capitalism, law enforcement, and fiscal discipline. Well, that sounds very Republican. A Thursday report published by Sludge about the Promise to America found that it is closely tied to the Welcome Party. The Welcome Party, a group whose PAC has received more than half of its individual contributions from billionaires. According to Sludge, the Promise to America appeared in public for the first time last month at Welcome Party's annual Welcome Fest conference, where it was signed by Representatives Tom Suozzi, Democrat, New York, and Adam Gray, Democrat of California. Other prominent Democrats who have signed the pledge includes Representative Josh Gottheimer, Democrat, New Jersey, Vicente Gonzalez, Democrat, Texas, and Don Davis, Democrat of North Carolina. Although Sludge uncovered no evidence that Welcome Party is financially supporting the Promise to America, the manifesto's presence at the group's conference was notable given the billionaire donations account for more than 60% of the $10.8 million in donations that it has received over the last 5 years. Major donors to the PAC include LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman, who has donated a total of $1.8 million, and former 21st Century Fox CEO James Murdoch, who, with his wife Catherine, has donated $2.5 million. Other noted billionaires who have contributed to Welcome PAC include Bain Capital co-founder Joshua Bekenstein, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and several members of the Walton family. Sludge's investigation also found that more billionaires may have donated to the Welcome Party's two dark money non-profit arms, which do not disclose their donors publicly. The Promise to America manifesto has drawn heavy criticism from progressives. In a recent interview with political commentator Santita Jackson, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat of New York, said that the corporate Democrats' pledge was a reactive document that lacked policy solutions to the problems facing Americans. Okay, fine. If you're against democratic socialist, that's okay. But what do you believe? Said Ocasio-Cortez. And that I think is the core of the weakness from that wing at this moment. There's no affirmative vision really coming from most places in the Democratic Party, with the exception of democratic socialism. Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat of California, last week also challenged the corporate wing of the party in a speech on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, in which he defended the vision being laid out by progressive insurgents. The progressive movement is winning across the country, from the heart of New York to Michigan to Maine, Khanna said. The people are saying no to foreign wars, and they're saying no to genocide in Gaza. They're saying no to the unfair and lopsided economy that has allowed a few people to hoard extreme wealth and power. And they're saying yes to Medicare for all. Yes, and people have been saying that for years. They want Medicare for all. And both parties support Medicare for all. But obviously, the corporate donors, those that contribute to both parties, they want people to remain sick. They want people to be sick. So they profit off of the sickness. In the Medicare for all system, that's not where they're going to be profiting. In the Medicare for all system, you're going to want healthy people. So you have most people in the USA want a Medicare for all, a healthcare for all system. It's just the corporate. The corporate lobbyists are in there with the money to both parties. And there you have it. And that's why you have the people that are voted in office are coming up with one excuse after the other why we can't have a healthcare system for all. But it boils down to the money. Profiting off of sickness. I mean, it's sick, but that's what they want to do. That's where they want to profit wherever they can. Okay, and let me see. Wayne's here. Ooh, bird flu. Wayne says Wayne's in Australia. He says we have our first case now here in NSW bird flu. Oh, sorry to hear that. Oh. Wayne says, happy birthday to 50th Independence Day, D. Not sure how many more will be. Yeah, the empire's in decline. Yes, it is. When you look at the greed for corporate profit, those profiting off of the military-industrial complex, profiting off of bombing the world, mass suffering of people. These people look at the stock market. I mean, it's sickening. It's sickness, the cruelty. And when you look at all that cruelty coming from the U.S., there's karma. We're going to have to see how everything unfolds. And now I'm going to take you to There we go. None of them common dreams. This is just so sad. Every day I think of the people in Gaza. And the world infuriates a lot of us. I know a lot of people that are infuriated by this, that the world's not stepping in and having a group get in there and provide humanitarian aid to Gaza. I mean, it's a poor excuse saying, "Oh, Israel won't let us." Well, do something. Make Israel deliver the humanitarian aid. And, make sure, that the world can get in there, journalists can get in there. And I'm so tired of him saying Israel won't let us. I mean, that is a poor excuse. They committed a genocide, and they didn't win. No one won. They act like, Israel acts like they won, so they have the right, them in the U.S. have the right to dictate Gaza. No, they don't. And we know in July of 2024, the ICJ came out and said, I mean, this occupation has been too long, and that Israel has to get out of Gaza. They gave them a time frame to get out, and it's past the time frame. Get out of East Jerusalem, get out of the West Bank. So where is the world to enforce this? That's what we need. We need the world to enforce it. It's just maddening that the world is silent to the suffering in Gaza. I know a lot of people aren't silent, but the people that need to do something are silent. It says here, Palestinians mourn an infant who was killed by an Israeli airstrike in Deir al-Balah on January 9th, 2025. It's just so heartbreaking. People should not be suffering like this. 1,022 babies among 21,500 plus children killed by Israel in 1,000 days of Gaza genocide. We could die at any moment. I hope the war stops for us, said one 14-year-old Palestinian girl in Gaza. I would like to live with love, peace, and an easy life. And this is by Brett Wilkins, and it's written July 2nd, 2026. Over 21,500 to 1,022 of them babies are among the more than 73,000 Palestinians killed by Israel since it launched the U.S.-backed genocidal war on Gaza 1,000 days ago, including hundreds of minors slain since a one-way ceasefire took effect 9 months ago. Yes, that's perfectly worded. Since a one-way ceasefire took effect 9 months ago, Gaza's government media office said on Thursday. Now, there are many accounts that are saying the numbers are much higher, the number of people killed. People have had that number going up into the hundreds of thousands. They account for the people that haven't been found. There's so much rubble. And, this is why journalists need to get in there. The world should be able to get in there to help and to see really what's going on. In updated figures, the GMO said that at least 73,066 Palestinians have been killed since Israel began its war and siege on the Gaza Strip on October 7th, 2023. A separate analysis published in mid-April by the UN Women found that at least 38,000 women and girls were killed between October 2023 and December 2025, and the numbers are much higher. The GMO said Thursday that at least 173,514 others, including more than 44,500, have been wounded and 9,500 Palestinians are still missing and presumed dead and buried beneath the rubble of bombed-out buildings in the coastal strip, more than 90% of which has been destroyed, and 80% of which is under Israeli control, according to officials. It says here, 1,000 days of genocide. So painful. And I always say, where is the world? Where are the world leaders? Why isn't the UN in there? Why aren't, reporters in there? More than 11,000 Gazan children have suffered what the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, called life-changing injuries, including as many as 4,000 amputations, many of them performed without anesthesia. Every day for the past 1,000 days, the world has failed 1 million children in Gaza by not intervening to stop the killing and maiming of children. Ahmed Ahendawi, regional director at the charity Save the Children, said Thursday. As their young, fragile bodies were blown to bits and pieces by bombs and missiles, the world sold out. Excuse me. The world sold those weapons. Excuse me. As their young, fragile bodies were blown to bits and pieces by bombs and missiles, the world sold those same weapons to the government of Israel and continued trade agreements with the government of Israel. It's just so horrible. These poor children, poor families. It's maddening. It's just hard. This is the world we live in, that people could be so hard. Early in the war, UNICEF called Gaza the world's most dangerous place to be a child. Classified Israeli Defense Forces data leaked last August suggested that 5 to 6 Palestinians, or 83%, killed during the war's first 19 months were civilians. Experts attribute the high civilian death toll to Israel's use of artificial intelligence and target selection. Dropping of 1,000 and 2,000-pound bombs, many of them supplied by the U.S., in densely populated urban zones. and relaxed rules of engagement, allowing for an unlimited number of non-combatant casualties in airstrikes targeting a single Hamas operative, no matter how low-ranking. Last month, a United Nations Commission of Inquiry found that 30% of those killed by Israel in Gaza have been minors, and that the deliberate targeting of children is one of the key elements establishing genocidal intent of the of the Israeli authorities and security forces to destroy the Palestinian group in whole or in part in Gaza. The commission, which separately concluded that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, used language consistent with Article 2 of the Genocide Convention, the international treaty against which Israel's actions are being weighed by the International Court of Justice in The Hague. In December 2023, South Africa filed a genocide case against Israel at the ICJ that is now formally backed by around 20 nations. IDF troops have admitted to witnessing alleged war crimes, including indiscriminate murder of women and children. Doctors and other international volunteers who worked in Gaza's besieged hospitals during the genocide have reported the apparently deliberate targeting of Palestinian civilians, including children, shot in the head and chest by Israeli snipers. Palestinian survivors and witnesses have also accused IDF troops of summarily executing women and children. Every day for the past 1,000 days, the world has failed 1 million children in Gaza. The new GMO figures note 460 deaths from malnutrition, 164 of them children, and 28 Palestinians, mostly children, who perished from hypothermia in camps housing many of the approximately 2 million people forcibly displaced by the war. According to figures published last month by UNICEF, more than 1,000 Palestinians, including at least 265 children, have been killed by Israeli bombs and bullets since the October 2025 ceasefire took effect. UNICEF called the purported truce a cruel and deadly illusion. All this is a retaliation for the Hamas-led attack in which approximately, well, the numbers are lower. From what I understand, it's about 1,138 Israelis and foreign nationals were killed, some by so-called friendly fire and under the fratricidal Hannibal Directive, and 251 others abducted. In the aftermath of the deadliest attack on Israel in its 75-year history, Israeli Prime Minister, who was wanted by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, in The Hague for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza, including murder and forced starvation, exhorted Israelis to remember what Amalek has done to you. Basically, it's what Netanyahu has done to them. Because as most people are aware of, he told the military to stand down in the early morning hours. He moved some of the IDF over to the West Bank. He moved a music event closer to the Gaza border. It was known to people that, work in that area, look over the wall and report what's happening, have said there was some training activity going on, and was reported to the higher ups, and they said nothing to worry about, nothing. And it was just very odd that the military, the IDF, was told not to report to duty in the early morning hours. And we all know the security that Israel normally has around them. And then you look at a lot of the ammunition that was used that day, and it was Israeli, U.S. ammunition. And it was just weird watching people coming in to Gaza, and it was just normal circumstances that wouldn't have happened. And they didn't have the weapons that caused most of the damage. So this is all on Netanyahu. Netanyahu is Amalek. And it says here, according to the Hebrew Bible, the nation of Amalek was an ancient archenemy of the Israelites, whose total extermination. Who was an ancient archenemy of the Israelites, whose total extermination, man and woman, infant and suckling, was commanded by the Abrahamic deity figure God. So, who is the evil one? Who's caused the problem for the people that are living in Israel right now? And they're not Israelites anyway. Who's the one that caused all of this? It was Netanyahu. He was the problem. And he knew. The UAE told him about what was going to happen that morning. He was aware. The upper echelon was aware. So they used that to their advantage. And many people are thinking, are questioning, was Hamas leaders in with Netanyahu? People question, have a lot of questions. And then there's the question of him with the Hannibal directive killing so many Israelis. It was horrible. And then to continue on this mass slaughter of the people in Gaza, I mean, this is just evil beyond evil. Netanyahu has caused more problems for the people of Israel. And obviously the people of Gaza and the Palestinian territories. But he's caused more problems for his own people. And the genocidal language that's used by those in the Knesset, it's terrible. I mean, this has nothing to do with God, and he should never even use the word God. I mean, there's one thing that's Judaism, and there's another thing that is Zionism. And Netanyahu really is just this is Zionism figure and just uses different lines from the Hebrew Bible, but he just does this to try to present himself as this powerful figure. But he's just beyond evil. And continuing on, numerous Israeli leaders made similarly genocidal statements including Israeli President Isaac Herzog, who asserted that there are no innocent people in Gaza. Former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who is also wanted by the ICC for ordering the complete siege of Gaza, blamed for fueling deadly famine and disease, and the influential far-right politician Moshe Feiglin. Quote, "Every child in Gaza is the enemy," Feiglin said last year. "We need to occupy Gaza and settle it, and not a single Gazan child will be there." According to the new GMO figures, 39,022 families in Gaza have suffered Israeli massacres, with more than 2,700 families entirely wiped out and another 6,020 left with only a single surviving member. More than 58,800 children have been orphaned, including 2,700 who lost both parents, while 26,370 women are now widows. This is just beyond evil. This is beyond evil. And the world is silent, allowing the evil to continue. In 2024, Save the Children published a report detailing how Israel's onslaught has caused the complete psychological destruction of Gazan children. A subsequent study found that nearly all children in the embattled Palestinian enclave believed that their deaths were imminent, and nearly half of them said they wanted to die. We could die at any moment. I hope the war stops for us, a 14-year-old girl identified as Amani told Save the Children in a report published Thursday. I hope the war stops so that I can continue my education in Gaza and live my life, my rights as a human, like any girl in any other countries. She added, I would like to live with love, peace, and an easy life. And the world just hears the genocidal statements, the evil statements made by these Israeli leaders, and does nothing. It's maddening that nothing is being done. The people of Gaza are wonderful people, well-educated people that just want to live in peace. They've suffered so much since the creation of the state of Israel. And you say, why? Nobody would want this. Nobody would want someone coming into your land, taking it over, and then look at what you're being called. I mean, you look at Eastern European people. Most of the people you see, Eastern Europeans coming in. Yeah, people that were born somewhere else. You're coming into somebody else's country, claiming it as your own, kicking them out of their homes, continually expanding and kicking more and more people out. And we see that's what's going on in the West Bank now. And you see with Gaza, they just want all the land. They want all the land, and they used October 7th as an excuse. And this is why I very strongly feel that this was Netanyahu's plan. He wanted all Gaza, and we know there's the gas outside, in the sea there, that he wants to start pumping. And then you got Trump wanting to build his Gaza Riviera on the bones and the blood of the people that were living there. A well-educated, beautiful population. It's so upsetting. And the world does nothing while the people are suffering, and no one is stopping Israel. It's infuriating. Okay, hello, Evelina. I see Evelina is here, and Kathleen, and let me just read some of the comments. And after Wayne, Christopher Bowen is here. He says, still not buying the number at all. It's much higher. Yes, that's what I say. The Lancet report has the number over 600,000 now, according to the Lancet report. And we need to have the international community getting into Gaza. To help the people, and also to help find, missing people and get people the medical attention they need, the food they need, provide shelter. Action is needed ASAP, and really report the figures out there, the numbers of, what's going on. And Kathleen says, oh, that sounds nice. She says, great shaking tent revival. Yeah, Kathleen's in Arkansas. Yep. Kathleen says, let meditation be the ashes you apply to your bodies. Guru Gobind Singh, 17th Puri of Sukamani is a lever, and such Juhad such, Hebi such. Nanak hos be such, says Kathleen. And Kathleen says, would be surprised if great shaking did not occur. Keep your cool, take cover, and hold on. Evelina says at 10:25. Hi, bit late, sorry. I'm happy you're here, Evelina. It's good to see you, Evelina. I was talking to Madeline today, and Madeline, we're going to be doing a show Friday night. Okay, good night, Morocco. Oh, good night, Kathleen. And Evelina says, at the time, there were Israeli witnesses that saw IDF firing on them. Yes. They've known from the beginning about the Hannibal operation on October 7th. Yes. And nothing is done, but chosen to ignore it. Yes. Israelis aren't stupid. They know what their army is capable of. Yes, and a lot of the people, they have their family members in the army there. They know what's going on. And there's a difference of people too. And you could see, those are the Kahanist mindset. They don't value life at all. They're just horrid. And you see, other people that will say their difficulty there, and they would try to stop somebody from doing what they were doing, and there were, they said there were just horrible things, the horrible things that were going on. It's just so evil. It really is. And like I said, this is Netanyahu's. And another thing, they expect nobody to defend their land. Israel does the same with all the countries around. It's always the problem is the other country for defending themselves. Well, if Hamas would just not be there, well, then who is going to defend? Who is going to defend the area? And, they'll say the same, where Syria is concerned, they totally obliterated Syria, the military. Lebanon, They want Lebanon to get rid of their defense. No, they want the neighbors to get rid of their defense capabilities because they want to take over. They want to take over the region. It's like when the U.S. In its early days was coming in and taking the land away from the natives. You look all across the lands going in and taking the land, creating states, thinking nothing of wiping out populations of people. So this is what Israel is looking to do in West Asia, or some say the Middle East. And you got Mike Huckabee giving Netanyahu his blessing. He thinks it's a great idea. I mean, it's sick, but Huckabee says he thinks it's a great idea. Mr. Baptist pastor, preacher, is fine with slaughtering all the Christians in the region. He's fine with slaughtering people. Thou shalt not kill, shalt not steal. I mean, there's a lot of commandments there, but nobody pays attention to it. They don't have to apply any of it because they're with the Zionist political movement. So just brush aside the religion. No matter what religion you are, just the Zionist philosophy. That's what they're following. Just go in and take what's not yours. That's fine. And create some kind of story. Okay, I'm going to take us over for some more happenings in Gaza and the surrounding areas. I'm going to go on to Quds News Network. Oh, here they talk about Palantir. Palantir CEO Alex Karp acknowledges that he is the most supportive CEO of Israel and claimed Israel is on the side of good. How is mass slaughter good? I mean, that's sick. Israel used Palantir technology to carry out its genocide in the Gaza Strip. And Karp is being described as a CEO who profited off of genocide openly. Yeah, he profited from it. Let me see if we can listen in.
This is like so many things. I am the most publicly supportive CEO of Israel, and that's true. I think Israel is on the side of good.
He's just on the side of profit. He's on the side of money. That's what he's on the side of. This is like so
many things.
He just wants to profit. And an hour ago, it says breaking: Israeli occupation forces detonate residential buildings west of Beit Lahia in the northern Gaza Strip. Every day they're doing this, and there's supposed to be a ceasefire. Where is the ceasefire? Israel doesn't go along with ceasefires. They'll say it in word. They may even sign documents, but they don't have to apply it. That's for the other side to apply this ceasefire. I mean, it's just maddening, and the world does nothing. Here it says Israeli occupation forces abduct Palestinian Mahdi Abdul Karim Daragme after storming his home in the village of Al Lubam al Sharia south of Nablus in the occupied West Bank, because that's what they're doing in the West Bank. They're kidnapping people. They yesterday they went and took a bunch of women. It's disgusting, and I always say, "Where is the world? Where is the world?" We know exactly what they're doing, and nobody is stopping them, and that is frightening. This could happen anywhere, and people should be screaming to stop all this. The Jerusalem governor documents Israeli violations against Palestinians and the Blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque during the first half of 2026. Israeli attacks in Jerusalem in the first half of 2026. 11 Palestinians were killed, 288 demolitions and land leveling, 25,604 settlers stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque, 269 settlers attacks, 866 Palestinians detained, 35 children and 21 women, and 191 Palestinians injured. And the world does nothing. It's infuriating. Israeli tanks opened fire towards the eastern areas of Al-Tufa neighborhood in eastern Gaza City. Israeli tanks. Yes, there's supposed to be a ceasefire. Why are there Israeli tanks there? Why is there gunfire? Israeli occupation forces stormed the town of Gias east of Qualia in the occupied West Bank. And here, while Israel buries Gaza's books beneath the rubble, Mohammed Sayed refuses to let knowledge die, turning displacement into a library of resilience against Israel's campaign of educide. Reading and books, story of resilience amid educide. Mohammed gives hope with books. During the Israeli genocide, the army destroyed his home and displaced him 15 times. He defied the orchestrated destruction of education. He operated a mobile bookstore outside Gaza universities, believing knowledge should be accessible to everyone. Now his small bookstore is among tents. Over 50,000 books remain buried beneath the ruins of his destroyed house. This is what Israel does. Massive fires erupt in the town of Sidiquin in southern Lebanon following the Israeli attack. Yeah, because they want Lebanon. Breaking, 2 Lebanese civilians were injured following an Israeli attack on the town of Sidiquin in southern Lebanon. And it says here at least 4 Palestinians were killed in separate Israeli attacks across the Gaza Strip on Thursday, according to medical sources. 2 people were killed and several others injured after an Israeli strike targeted a tent near Street 5 in Mawasi, Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. Meanwhile, medical sources announced that another Palestinian succumbed to wounds sustained earlier in the day when an Israeli strike hit a motorcycle in the Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza. Every day, the Israeli occupation is going in there and killing people every day. And as we said, there's supposed to be a ceasefire. Israel knows nothing of ceasefire. And the world is not doing anything to stop Israel. An Israeli airstrike hit the town of Siddiquen in southern Lebanon. Their goal is to wipe out Lebanon. They want to build their settlements in Lebanon. And the only thing that stops them is Hezbollah. It's the only thing that's stopping them. Israeli occupation forces storm a Palestinian home in the town of al-Salah al-Haratha, west of Jenin in the occupied West Bank. Bound and blindfolded, Palestinian detainee abducted by Israeli forces during the Gaza genocide sparked outrage after being shared by an Israeli soldier. Family says they recognize him and are seeking information about his fate after years missing. It's horrible. I just can't even imagine it. Could you imagine this being your relative? This being your relative. Let's see if I can enlarge that. It's horrible seeing your relative like that. Evil. Horrible to do that to somebody. Photo of bound, blindfolded Palestinian man abducted by Israeli forces. Horrible. No place in the new Gaza. Trump's so-called Board of Peace targets UNRWA in the latest move against the UN agency serving millions of Palestinian refugees. Trump's so-called Board of Peace says UNRWA has no place in the new Gaza. The world has to stop this. Gaza belongs to the Palestinians. Gaza belongs to the Palestinians. And Israel is supposed to be out of Gaza. Israel is not abiding by the ceasefire at all. And the world needs to act on this. Israeli artillery shells the southeastern area of Khan Yunis city in the southern Gaza Strip. It's horrible. And yeah, then they put their flags up. The world is waiting for someone to get in to stop Israel, to stop the U.S. from what they're doing. They think by doing what they're doing, they can do it anywhere they want around the world. They don't follow any rules. Israel was told to get out of Gaza, get out of East Jerusalem, get out of the West Bank. They totally ignore it. And the U.S. is with Israel with all this. It's horrible. Palestinian prisoners' information office reported that 2 Palestinian women detained in Israel's Damon prison have developed cancer following a deliberate medical neglect. Medical neglect. 45-year-old Suhair Zakik, held under administrative detention since November 2025, suffers from tumors and has and had been awaiting surgery before her arrest, but has since been denied proper treatment and follow-up care despite repeated detention renewals. 49-year-old Fida Asaf, imprisoned since February of 2025 and serving a 22-month sentence, has leukemia, and her condition has significantly worsened. She's reportedly receiving only painkillers instead of specialized treatment she urgently needs. The office added that 99 Palestinian women are currently held in Israeli prisons, including pregnant detainees, and alleges that detainees face medical neglect and other rights violations. Yes, and most of these people are hostages. They're hostages. Israel just goes around kidnapping people and putting them in their prisons. It's like, where is the release the hostages crowd? Yeah, release the Palestinian hostages. Get them the medical care they need. And yeah, the cancer ravages body of 2 Palestinian women in Israel Damon prison. And the world is silent. What kind of world do we live in? Israeli naval boats open fire while launching flares over the sea off the northwest coast of Gaza City. Yeah, tormenting people. Ceasefire means nothing. And it infuriates me that the world does nothing. They have meetings and they talk and they talk and they talk, but nothing gets done to stop Israel. And let me just see your comments. Okay, let's see more comments. Okay, let me get back. Israeli censorship unravels as report reveals Iranian strikes crippled Israel's largest oil refineries until 2028. A new report by Middle East Eye has revealed that Iranian missile strikes inflicted far greater damage on Israel's largest oil refineries in Haifa Bay than Israeli authorities publicly admitted, with reconstruction expected to continue until 2028. According to Israel's Channel 12, the Bazan refineries suffered extensive damage to gas turbines, steam boilers, electrical rooms, and other critical infrastructure, while one major fuel storage tank was destroyed beyond repair. The findings contradict repeated assurances from Israeli Energy Minister Eli Cohen and Bazan, which claimed the damage was minimal and operations remained unaffected. The Haifa refineries are among Israel's most strategically important facilities, supplying fuel for industry, agriculture, infrastructure, and domestic consumption. Reports estimate losses of 150 to 200 million, while 3 Bazan employees were killed after Iranian missiles penetrated Israel's U.S.-backed air defense system. They always try to hide and act like, oh, nothing happened when stuff happens. Here is a picture of Palestinian Abdul Hamid Abdel Jawan was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Al Nusrat refugee camp in the central Gaza Strip. It's just so sad. And like I say all the time, where is the world? Where is the world? It's just so infuriating. All the lives lost are just so horrible. And here, 15-year-old Palestinian student Tala Mohammed Wahid Awad, who survived the war in the Gaza Strip and was forced to flee with her family, has won the gold medal in the 2026 Sao Paulo State Mathematics Olympiad. Tala earned the top honor after excelling in the statewide competition, marking remarkable academic achievement and highlighting her determination to succeed despite the hardships she has endured. After arriving in Brazil, Tala quickly learned Portuguese and adapted to her new school and community. Her rapid integration and outstanding academic performance reflect her resilience and commitment to education. Well, that's wonderful. The Palestinians, from over the years, I've noticed, are very studious people. Very well educated, and I'm really happy for her that she succeeded the way she's done. She had to flee. Like they said, the family survived the war in Gaza. The family was forced to flee. They were able to get out. Survivor of Gaza genocide wins gold medal in Sao Paulo Math Olympiad. That's just wonderful news. That's so nice. So happy for her. Israeli settlers terrorize. Well, they're thugs. They're thugs. You shouldn't even call them settlers. Israeli thugs terrorized Palestinians while storming Masafa Yatta, south of Hebron, in the occupied West Bank. They do this around the clock. And this is horrible. An Israeli artillery shells the town of Barshit in southern Lebanon, moments after Israeli aircraft bombed a house. Horrible. And no one's able to stop them. Just, all I can say is that there's just so much evil. That these governments around the world, these countries don't stop Israel. It just shows them as evil. A months-long investigation by the new humanitarian using satellite imagery reveals Israel has ground entire towns in eastern Gaza into dust since the October 2025 ceasefire, then build military bases and roads on the cleared land. Legal experts call it evidence of ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and genocide. Whole communities of tens of thousands now have nothing left to return to. It's pure evil, and you're saying, where is the world? They don't want to stop this, and all those that supplied weapons, need to be held accountable. Everybody's going to be held accountable for war crimes. It's just so evil. It's just so evil you could do this to people. And this could come to a town near you, but to anybody. They get away with this with Gaza, and they'll say, wow, we can do this anywhere. Nobody's going to stop us. Israeli aircraft launched an airstrike on the town of Barkid in southern Lebanon. Yeah, they got away with it. They do what they want. And that's why they want Hezbollah out of the way, so they can just make their way all the way up through Lebanon and then build Jewish settlements. That's what they want to do. Oh, look at it. Israeli occupation authorities released Palestinian detainee Osad Yassar Salim from the town of Azun, east of Korea, after 16 months of detention in Israeli prisons. Yes, taken as a hostage. You don't hear the world screaming out, release the hostages, the hostages, the hostages. Yeah, well, Palestinian hostages. Why aren't you screaming out for the hostages to be released? Look at. Why isn't this on the screens of big TVs around the world? The releasing of hostages. And we know they were starved and tortured. Oh, but the world doesn't really see this as news to broadcast around the world. A license to kill. The Guardian exposes Israel's systematic killing of Palestinian children in the occupied West Bank. A new investigation by The Guardian, citing findings from the Israeli human rights group B'Tselem, reveals that Israeli occupation forces have killed 235 Palestinian children in the occupied West Bank since October 2023, while not a single Israeli has been indicted for killing a Palestinian during that period, according to Yesh Din. The report documents how children, including 9-year-old Mohammed al-Halak, 13 years old, Rima Zamori, a 2-year-old, Layla al-Khatib, was shot and killed, despite posing no threat. Many were playing outside, while Layla was fatally shot inside her family's home as she sat on her mother's lap. Yeah, and they do what they want, and no one holds them accountable. Nobody holds Israel accountable. Bethlehem said Israel is implementing a policy that effectively gives soldiers a license to kill, rejecting military claims that the children were involved in military activity. Yeah, a 2-year-old. The report also highlights statements by Israeli military commander Major General Avi Bluth, who declared that Israeli forces are killing like we haven't killed since 1967. Israeli forces behind almost all killings of children in the West Bank since 2000. Horrible. Palestinian Yosef Qassem Abu Qatar was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Khan Yunis city in the southern Gaza Strip. Just blatantly just going around slaughtering everybody, and the world doesn't stop them. I mean, this is just beyond maddening. But this is going on and nobody's stopping them. After enduring the brutality of Israeli detention, Palestinian Sheikh Assam Sabah is finally reunited with his loved ones. For the first time since his detention in Israeli prisons, his family and friends were able to embrace him again and returned home to Tulkarm in the occupied West Bank. Yes, the release of hostages. Spain just became the first EU country to blacklist Palantir, the US data firm whose AI targeting software powers Israel's killing machine in Gaza. Sickening. This is just so evil. It's beyond evil. Today marks the 12th anniversary of a crime that shook humanity, which claimed the life of a Palestinian child who was burned alive by colonial Israeli thugs. The story began when Abu Qadir left at dawn on July 2nd, 2014, July 2nd, 2014, heading to the mosque to perform the Fajr prayers on the fourth day of Ramadan. On his way, he was stopped by a car carrying three thugs, Israeli thugs. They asked him for directions to Tel Aviv, then forced him into the vehicle at gunpoint and abducted him outside the town. The abductors then headed to the Deir Yassin forested area, where they began torturing Abu Qadir by beating and strangling him. The perpetrator, Yosef ben David, then poured gasoline on him, forced him to drink it, and set his body on fire, burning him alive until death. Oh, just evil. This is. And the world just does nothing and allows this to continue. So awful. Abducted, tortured, and burned alive, 12-year-old. 12 years on settlers' crime against Palestinian child, Mohammed Abu Qadir. Horrible. This evil. We know the evil they do, and no one is holding Israel accountable for their actions. And here, Palestinian Yosef Abu Qatar and Mohammed al-Bram were announced killed in an Israeli drone strike on a tent in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza Strip. They're bombing a tent, and meanwhile they're with their families, and this is what Israel does. They want to, like I said, wipe out all of Gaza. And no one is stopping them. They continue doing what they do because nobody stops them. Nobody holds them accountable. It has been over 1,000 days since the start of Israel's genocide in the Gaza Strip. Gaza has faced continuous destruction, with entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. Thousands of families killed instantly, and others forcibly disappeared or left under the rubble. 1,000 days of genocide, the scale of loss in Gaza. And the world doesn't stop Israel. It's like the world allows the beast to continue doing what it does. We saw the actions in Syria. We see the actions in Lebanon. They tried with Iran. Yeah, the beast, the evil beast. Targeted sectors: 1,700 medical staff killed, 145 civil defense workers killed, 262 journalists killed, 194 municipality staff killed, 2,800 police and aid security personnel killed, 928 athletes killed. Starvation: 460 deaths from starvation, 23 killed in aid airdrops. 43% of kidney patients died from lack of care. 12,000 miscarriages linked to malnutrition. 28 deaths from cold in camps. And plus 55% of victims are women, children, and elderly. And the world is silent while this evil continues. Suppose this was your neighborhood. Suppose, this was your town, your state. And the world just continued on doing what they do. And this was happening to you. Everybody just goes on with life. There's deaths are missing. Well, the deaths, I know the Lancet report. They estimate over 600,000. The numbers under the rubble are probably this says 9,500 missing under rubble or unaccounted for. But there's got to be a lot more. 21,500 children killed, 12,500 women killed, 9,000 mothers among victims, 22,500 fathers killed, children and families, 1,022 infants under 1 killed, 520 newborns born and killed, 39,022 families hit by massacres. It says 2,700 families erased from the civil records, and 6,020 families left with 1 survivor. And that's just like the known. Because that's why the Lancet report and many others have the numbers much higher. Israeli occupation forces carry out detonations in the town of Khonain in southern Lebanon. And they do what they want. They want to take over Lebanon. They've shown the map of the Greater Israel Plan. And Daniela Weiss and many others had said, they want to start building Jewish settlements going up to Beirut. And, they're anxious to get the settlements built. Same thing with Syria, they're anxious. Settlements up to Damascus, they want to get those settlements started. And the world does nothing to stop them. The President of the United States, a country mediating in the Middle East while waging war on Iran, posted an AI-generated video of himself as a doctor treating patients with Trump derangement syndrome, featuring famous actors and actresses such as Robert De Niro, Julia Roberts, and Rosie O'Donnell. He's such a, I don't want to say it. I'm just going to skip over that. Journalist Ahmed Al-Bursh received a call from the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OSHA, ordering him to come and take his son, Jalil, who has gone missing for over 35 days. During the call, they told him that the Israeli army returned his child and they will be reunited. When he went, expecting to finally embrace his child, he was met with a devastating shock when it turned out the boy presented to him was not his son. I don't even know what to say. You returned the boy, but it wasn't his son, somebody else's son. And no one does anything about the Israeli cruelty. I mean, this should not have been going on for this length of time. The U.S. had two administrations, Biden and then Trump. This evil. The harm they're doing, these poor children, poor families. It says here, this was 9 hours ago, an update. 2 Palestinian children were reportedly injured following an Israeli drone strike on a displacement camp in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. These poor children. The world is silent. I should say world leaders and those that could do something are silent. And here we have reproductive genocide in Gaza refers to the sustained pattern of destruction carried out by Israeli targeting the foundations of Palestinian life, including healthcare systems, maternity services, and the conditions needed for pregnancy, childbirth, and child survival. Hospitals and medical infrastructure have collapsed, leaving women to give birth in unsafe conditions without adequate medical support or supplies. Reproductive genocide, Israel's destruction of Palestinian lives and future. And where is the world? The silence, which is so hot. It's just so horrible. And, it's like we've all lived through this. And, we see over and over again what's happening. We've seen videos. We've seen medical staff speaking. The volunteers that were over there talking, volunteer doctors and medical staff. We saw videos for the past, I got exactly 1,000 days, they say. So we've been watching this. And the world knows it. The world watches it. You have all these leaders watch it. And they're fine with it. They don't do anything to stop it. And they constantly have talks and talks and talks. But some of the people in Palestine, people in Gaza are suffering. And Israel's still carrying on their evilness and no one's stopping them. It's maddening that nobody could stop Israel. I mean, this is ridiculous. Israeli forces have caused a collapse of reproductive health care in Gaza, including the death of newborns in hospitals after electricity cuts and forced women to give birth without anesthesia sterile equipment, or medical care. Israel's genocide on Gaza has produced mass famine, disease, miscarriages, and long-term fertility damage, while destroying the conditions required for Palestinian family life and future. Israel carried out a reproductive genocide against Palestinians for decades, targeting medical institutions, destroying reproductive health care systems, and degrading living conditions in ways that prevent Palestinian population continuity. Since October 2023, Israel has intensified this campaign in the Gaza Strip, systematically destroying hospitals, maternity wards, IVF clinics, and the essential infrastructure needed for pregnancy, childbirth, and infant survival. Israel has killed more than 21,000 Palestinian children since October 2023, with thousands more buried under the rubble. Thousands of children have lost their mothers amid widespread bombardment and displacement. The U.S. and Israel are the main ones that are doing this. It's sickening. It's evil, and you're like, why? You want somebody else's land, and this is what you do because you want Gaza. I mean, this is just so sick and so evil, and the world doesn't stop. Doesn't stop the U.S. Doesn't stop Israel. Israeli forces have caused the collapse of reproductive health care in Gaza, including the death of newborns in hospitals after electricity cuts, and forced women to give birth without anesthesia, sterile equipment, or medical care. Israel's genocide on Gaza has produced mass famine, disease, miscarriages, and long-term fertility damage, while destroying the conditions required for Palestinian family life and future generations. The evilness, and like we said, goes back to Britain and goes back to Europe. Just coming in and thinking you could just come in and take somebody else's land and move another group of people in. And people have suffered from one generation to the next because of a decision. Britain thinking it had the authority to do this. And then people declaring that the land is theirs when there's already people there. It's just so evil. And what the people have suffered, and here we have it again. And no one's stopping. No one's doing anything to stop what Israel's doing. And it's just mind-boggling that no one can stop Israel. Amid ongoing violations of the announced ceasefire, an Israeli drone targets a house in the town of Yatar, southern Lebanon. Yeah, because Israel does what it wants. It kills, bombs, homes, it does whatever it wants. Because nobody stops them. Israeli occupation forces fire stun grenades at Palestinians celebrating a wedding in the streets of Zaire, occupied West Bank. This follows the pattern of deliberate Israeli attacks on Palestinians during their celebrations and funerals to terrorize them and violate their basic human rights. And the world knows it. It's all documented, and no one stops Israel. And here, Israeli occupation forces assault and detain a Palestinian in the village of Al Magir, occupied West Bank, because that's what they do. Assault, and it says and detain, yeah, meaning they're kidnapping it. They're abducting. They abduct people, and they get away with it. And you don't hear people screaming, "Release the hostages! Release the Palestinian hostages!" You know, where is the world screaming about the hostages? As 1,000 days pass since the beginning of Israel's genocidal war on the Gaza Strip, the humanitarian situation has reached unprecedented levels of devastation among Palestinian families. Millions have been displaced, and entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble amid ongoing bombardment. Civilians continue to endure severe shortages of food, water, and medical supplies, while basic infrastructure has largely collapsed. You know, we've all seen the videos of the suffering of people, and you know, during the hot summers, I mean, they're in these tents. During the cold winter, they're in the tents. I mean, it's just horrible. You know, people had nice homes they were living in, and this is what Israel and the United States has done. Just beyond evil. And here, Israeli drones strike the town of Nabatai al-Fawqa in southern Lebanon. Yeah, because they get away with it. They get away with what they do. They want to build their Jewish settlements. IDF soldiers deliberately shot at children's limbs as a twisted game or target practice. Australian Senator David Pocock spoke in the Senate about UN findings regarding Israeli actions in Gaza, referencing a June 18, 2026 report from the Independent International Commission of Inquiry. He stated that the IOF has now killed 20,000 Palestinian children. Pocock called the Australian sanctions on called for Australian sanctions on Israel and further actions against the ongoing situation in the Gaza Strip, which indicates a rising political awareness of Israel's violations. Let me hear what he has to say.
The Israeli Defense Force has now killed 20,000 Palestinian children and injured 44,000 more. This is indefensible. The report found evidence of attacks on child essential infrastructure like orphanages and schools, the starvation and torture of detained children. It identified really horrifying evidence that IDF soldiers deliberately shot at children's limbs as some sort of twisted game of target practice. The report found the scale of child deaths is unprecedented to the point that it is unparalleled across modern conflicts globally. Unparalleled. And I think we need to come to terms with what it means in this moment in history to be defined this way. The Israeli Defense Force has now killed 20,000 Palestinian children.
And here the OHCHR documented 240 cases in which Israeli forces prevented or delayed emergency medical assistance after shooting Palestinian children and adults in the occupied West Bank since October 7th, 2023. None of the victims survived. It said Israel block. Yeah, we've seen the videos of this with Israel blocking emergency medical assistance. And it says here 240 times after shooting Palestinian children and adults in the West Bank since October 2023. Yeah, we've seen the videos. I mean, every day they're in the West Bank. They're in the West Bank harassing people, kidnapping people, and the world is just silent. Photos of the Palestinian man, Nafez Abu Obeid, before and after he spent 2 years in Israeli detention camps. Yes, 2 years. He was abducted, spent 2 years. And here's a picture of him. 2 years being tortured. I mean, it's horrible. I didn't hear people screaming to release the hostages, to release him. Because the world is just focused on certain groups of people and other group of people don't matter. It's horrible. John McDonnell, British Member of Parliament for Hayes and Harlington, raised the case of Dr. Mazen Rantisi in the Parliament, calling for his immediate release after Israeli occupation forces had abducted him. Dr. Rantisi is widely known as the Doctor of the Poor for humanitarian work treating marginalized communities. So they're calling for his release. Israel, it's horrible. Holding people hostage. I mean,
and I want to live long enough to see Netanyahu before a criminal court. And I know the frustration when we raise individual cases. There's frustration about will it have any effect. But the effect it does have sometimes is that people know, therefore, they're not forgotten. So on the annexation of the West Bank, part of that has been about the arrests of individuals. And one of them is Dr. Mazen al-Rantisi, known as the Doctor of the Poor. Could I ask the Minister to raise his case with the Israelis? But also could I ask him to raise another case that we raised some time ago with Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, who's been 500 days now in isolation. If we could at least raise those cases, at least their families know they're not forgotten. And I want to live long enough to see Netanyahu before a criminal court.
I think we all do want to see him in front of a criminal court. And a lot more in the Knesset as well. Amid screams of child and scenes of grief, Israeli forces demolished the home of citizen Ali Mahmoud Soleimani in the Kirbet al-Dir area of Tuk town east of Bethlehem, without allowing the family to remove any of their furniture or belongings. And you say, where is the world? This is illegal, what they're doing. But Israel does what it wants. Child screams as Israeli forces demolish home. This is horrible. Yeah, it's the Hyundai. You seen the Hyundai bulldozer? I'll bring that up again. So yep, it's the Hyundai. It's right there. The Hyundai bulldozer. It was in the Hyundai. Horrible. But they could do this. So much evil. Here, Israeli occupation forces set up a military point in Ras Al Amud Silwan, occupied Jerusalem, causing traffic congestion and harassing drivers and passengers. Horrible. As we say, where is the world to stop all this? To stop all this evil? And here, 12 hours ago, it says Israel's Knesset just approved in a preliminary vote a bill to criminalize the call to prayer with fines up to 50,000 shekels and police powers to confiscate mosque sound systems. The law is written to sound neutral, applying to all houses of worship, but legal experts confirm it is built to target mosques only. Synagogues are effectively exempt. Israeli occupation forces bulldoze Palestinian farmland in the town of Sarif, north of Hebron. It's terrible. And the world doesn't stop them. We say, where is the world to stop this? I mean, Israel should be sanctioned. Don't allow them to have any bulldozers. Stop sending the bulldozers over. Stop sending them weapons. Horrible. Pro-Palestine activists protest outside Lockheed Martin office for their company's complicity in Israeli genocide by supplying the Israeli military with F-35 fighter jets. Lockheed Martin is one of the world's largest aerospace and defense contractors, headquartered in the United States and a primary manufacturer of advanced military aircraft, including the F-35 that Israelis use in killing Palestinians in Gaza. So evil. Well, I'm glad they're protesting.
Lockheed Martin, shame on you. Killing babies, what you do.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
You're committing genocide.
You're committing genocide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
You're committing
Genocide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
You're supporting genocide.
You're supporting genocide.
We support everything. Shame on you.
Lockheed Martin, shame on you.
Killing babies, what you do.
Killing babies, what you do.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
You're committing genocide.
You're committing genocide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
Lockheed Martin, you can't hide.
You're
Genocide.
Lockheed Martin.
Yep. It's exactly what they're doing. As Israel destroyed 90% of Gaza Strip's houses during the genocide, Palestinians take Gaza port as a camp of displacement. Here are some scenes showing the port is overcrowding with tents amid severe and catastrophic living conditions. As I say, where is the world? Gaza port, not for leisure, but for displacement. "12 hours ago, this was reported that Israeli occupation drone targets Ali al-Tahrir, southern Lebanon." Yeah, around the clock. They're bombing Lebanon, they're bombing Gaza, they're in the West Bank, and no one stops them. Israeli occupation forces detained 9 Palestinians from the town of Mikmas, east of occupied Jerusalem. Yeah, detain, kidnap. It's horrible. Hostages. Yes, release the hostages. I see multiple Palestinians were reportedly injured in an Israeli drone strike on Al Nusayrat refugee camp. Yeah, yeah, bombing tents. I mean, it's sickening. It's just beyond evil. At least 3 Palestinians were injured in an Israeli airstrike on a motorcycle near Muth Ben Jabal Mosque in Nusayrat camp, central Gaza. The wounded people were moved to Al Awada Hospital for treatment. Israel bombs motorcycle in Nusayrat, injuring many. Just horrible. I mean, these people are suffering, and they have been suffering. And you're like, and again, I know I'm repeating myself, but where is the world to stop Israel? Israeli occupation forces swarm a Palestinian family's home and detain 2 Palestinians in the town of Silwan, occupied Jerusalem. Yeah, detain, yes. They kidnapping, abducting. And they do this because nobody stops them. After 2 years, okay, we showed that before. After 2 years in Israeli detention camps, Israeli occupation releases Palestinian detainee Nafez Abu Abeid from Tahrir, occupied West Bank, in poor condition. Yeah, detaining without any charges. They just kidnap people, torture them for 2 years, and silence from the world. Ugh. A circulating video shows Sarah Netanyahu, wife of Israeli war criminal Netanyahu, shouting at him and his team during the opening ceremony of the Maccabee Games. Ugh, she's disgusting. Extremist Israeli settlers, or thugs, I should say extremist Israeli thugs, vandalized Palestinians' vehicle in the village of Barq, B-A-R-Q, occupied West Bank. Around the clock, that's what they do. They're thugs. And now they get away with what they do. And there are groups that are funding these thugs. It's disgusting. Israeli occupation forces storm Khalifa-occupied West Bank and fire tear gas towards Palestinians. They're disgusting. They're so evil. And the world doesn't stop them. I mean, it's sickening. During Israel's genocide and ground invasion of Gaza, Palestinian medical personnel have reportedly been abducted from hospitals, clinics, and emergency medical teams while performing their duties. Here are some of their names. Let us remember them. Speak their names and continue demanding their freedom. Their release, along with that of all Palestinian detainees in Israeli prisons, just remain an urgent call for justice and accountability until every one of them is free. 12 Gaza doctors abducted by Israeli forces. And here it shows the doctors. Make this larger. Dr. Musab Saman, orthopedics, lecturer, IUG, abducted NASA Medical Complex, 15 February 2024. Dr. Mahmoud Ali Halak, ICU doctor, abducted NASA Medical Complex, 16 February 2024. Dr. Hassan Al Muqayyad, vascular surgeon, abducted Kamal Adwan Hospital, 23 November 2024. And then we have pediatric specialist abducted at his home, 8 December 2023, Dr. Rayad Mahdi. And then ICU head, Indonesian hospital, abducted at the Indonesian hospital, 4 March 2024, Dr. Medhat Abu Tabana. And hospital director, abducted Red Cross Hospital, 21 July 2025, Dr. Marwan Al-Hams. And the world, I mean, I know people are advocating for their release, but when we look at the leaders in the world, where are they? All these doctors abducted, and here's Dr. Mohammed Obeid, Al-Wada Hospital, abducted Kamal Adwan Hospital, 26 October 2024. Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, pediatrician, Kamal Adwan, abducted Kamal Adwan Hospital, 27 December 2024. And Dr. Ghassan Abu Sari, head of orthopedics, NASA, abducted NASA Medical Complex, 15 February 2024. And Dr. Akram Abu Awada, orthopedic surgery head, Indonesian hospital, abducted at the Indonesian hospital on 23 November 2024. And we have Dr. Murad Al-Quaka, orthopedic surgeon, Al-Shifa, abducted Al-Shifa Medical Complex, 20 March 2024. And Dr. Mashed Abu Taima, surgeon, director, NASA, abducted NASA Medical Complex, 17 February 2024. Okay, we saw these doctors. I mentioned them before. It's just horrible. All these doctors. Just all the people kidnapped. or we say abducted. Where is the world? And again with Silwan, Israeli occupation forces harass a Palestinian while driving his vehicle in the town of Silwan, occupied Jerusalem. Because that's what they do. And this is around the clock. And this has been going on for a long time now. And here's, again, Israeli occupation forces bulldoze Palestinian farmers' lands in the town of Sarif of north of Hebron. Because this is what they do. Now, yep, again, Israeli occupation forces detain a Palestinian during a raid on Al-Wad Street in the city of Qualia. Around the clock they do this, and they've been doing this, and no one's stopping them. Nobody is stopping them. Horrible. Missing Palestinian. Amin al-Ghul identified an image posted by Israeli soldiers. You know, the evil that they do. You know, to people just wanting to live their lives. Israeli occupations forces surround a Palestinian building during a raid on Al-Wad Street in the city of Qualia. Okay, I think that should be enough. And here's Israeli occupation forces storm the town of Beit Farik, east of Jerusalem, east of Nablus. Because that's what they do. Okay. And Wayne says at 11:21, a person most likely a Zionist didn't agree with me that a small nuke was used against Lebanon in the southern similar size, in the south similar size Hiroshima. You know, we all know, we've all seen what they do, and there's always people that just are like, no, 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 no. They just have this image of Israel, and they just don't want to see what's going on. You know, what Israel's capable of. You know, they have this image of Israel in their mind, and they don't want people to think otherwise. You know, people just closing their minds to what's going on, what's been happening. I mean, and it's just horrific that people don't want to see. I mean, there's suffering going on, and they're just like, oh, no, 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 there isn't. Yes, there is. We've seen it. We've seen more videos and more, reports. But they just want to live in denial. Well, thank you, Wayne, for being here. Thank you, Evelina. And thank you for your comments. And Kathleen, thank you. And Chris Bowen, thank you. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for being here. I appreciate that. And Friday evening, Madeline Hoffman will be with me. She'll be joining me at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So I look forward to spending time with Madeline. And thank you for all those that watched the show and shared the show. Thank you so much. It's always upsetting when we show what's happening in Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem. It's upsetting to go over the topic, but it's important. It's important for people to see what's going on and for us to talk to people, to continually talk to people, let them know what's going on. So thank you for joining me, and like I said, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on X, and you can follow me on Facebook. I'm on Upscrolled. Follow me on Upscrolled. I'd appreciate that. And continue doing what you're doing, sharing information. It's so important to share information. And also, if you have the ability to provide funding to people, please do so, because we know the people in Gaza are suffering. And I know it's painful to watch, and there are so many people. But, I know people are struggling around the world with the high prices, but if you have the ability to provide help, please do so, and share the different campaigns so that it get into the hands of somebody that does have the ability to provide some help. It's important to share all the different campaigns, no matter what social media you're on. Raise awareness, and could hit somebody that does have the ability to provide help. So, like I said, I'll be back Friday at 9:30 p.m. with Madeline Hoffman, and continue what we're doing. Let's pray for Palestine. Pray for the people in Gaza. I know people, do Reiki and have different forms of healing energy and meditation. Positive energy is so needed in Gaza. Gaza needs help. The people in Gaza need help. And the world is just ignoring it. So let's do what we can. And thank you for being here again. And, we went over the blame for the high prices, and it's just so awful what's going on in the world, and the capitalists with the Democratic Party, and they're the ones that are funding. And so here we have in the U.S. just two corporate parties, and people suffering in the U.S. and worldwide. People are silent about Gaza, silent about what's going on in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Those in powerful positions notice that, and they notice they could do this around the world, because we the people don't have the power to stop them. So we've got to really, really talk about what's going on, and continue protesting and educating people that we can vote the different people out of office, and hopefully we can get change. And I just wish some country would stand up and help the people of Gaza. And I should say also, help the people in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem. But Israel has to be stopped, and I just wish somebody would stand up and change things. We see that they saw what they're getting away with in Gaza, so there they are in Lebanon, and we see Syria. It's just horrible. So let's pray for change, and stick together. And we do what we can. Thank you and good night. Free Palestine. My heart just goes out to Palestine, and goes out to the entire region and to people around the world. and we just want peace around the world. Thank you and good night.